Making sure I'm hitting play and not stop. Okay. Okay, so Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today to chat all about your birth story. Before we get into your birth story, why don't we just take a moment and just you introduce yourself to everybody in the audience, let everybody know who you are, what you do, and anything you want to share about yourself personally.
Okay, awesome. My name is Sara Feolino. I'm from Hawaii, but I just gave birth in Illinois this past April to my first child, a baby girl.
Oh.
And but then my family, we moved again during COVID, and she was only 1 month old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So where did you guys move?
We are now in Las Vegas.
Okay, so you guys are now in Las Vegas. And then what do you do? What did you do like when you found out that you were pregnant? And then like what do you do now?
When I found out that I was pregnant, I wasn't employed at the time
Okay.
because we had just moved to Illinois. So then once we found out I was pregnant, we're like, oh, it'll just be better if I just stay home, take care of,
Okay.
relax. That sounds ideal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then while I was pregnant, I became a certified wedding and event planner.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
my husband and I started our business called Journey to Marriage, which is helping couples prepare for marriage.
Nice. Okay. So then tell us about like what happened before like you found out you were pregnant. Like where were you? What were you doing? And like how did you find out that you were expecting?
We had just taken a trip to Chicago, and then it was
Okay.
like 4th of July. So just doing the usual. And then I was like, my breasts feel a little bigger. That's weird. I'm like, am I pregnant?
Mm.
So then I took a test,
Mm-hmm.
and then it said negative. And then I took another test, and I could like see a faint line with the
Mm.
line. I was like, what does this mean? So I looked at the paper, and I was like, that means I'm pregnant. So I was like, okay, okay, don't tell the husband yet. So I went to Target, and I got the digital kind
Yeah.
that says positive, and whatever the other indication was for two
Yeah.
tests. And they said positive. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to tell my husband? And I was so excited. I was like, okay, I have to do it when he comes home from work, because I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
able to hold it in that long, like how some
Right.
people order things and that way, like
Right. Plan
you
this
don't
big announcement.
understand oven in the bun. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when he came home, I had him close his eyes, and it was just a felt board that said positivity. Because I always
Oh.
tell him that, like, oh, we need to be positive throughout our day. So positivity. But I had
Mm-hmm.
um like stuffed animals around the sign too.
Mm.
Um and when he came home, he thought, oh, a surprise. She bought me something. And then when I revealed it, he was like, positivity. And then he just like dropped to his knees and he started crying.
Oh,
And I got it on camera too. So when I
that's
shared that with
awesome.
family, they were all crying too.
Oh,
That's how I told him.
awesome announcement. Yeah. So your husband was really, really excited. And then what did you guys do after your husband knew?
After he found out, we
Hmm.
went to go get a check, get checked by a nurse
Okay.
to like super confirm it, to hear
Yeah.
from someone saying like, yeah, you are pregnant.
Okay. How did you find like the OB or midwife who you chose for your pregnancy? Because you were new to the state, right? Had you already picked somebody or?
At the time we were in the military, so we just saw the clinic on base.
Oh, got it. Okay. Okay. So then you guys go to super confirm whether or not like this is like a pregnancy. You want to hear from a medical professional,
Yeah.
which is smart. Okay. So then when you guys went to go to the nurse to hear for sure that you guys are pregnant, what happened then?
Um, well, we were still early on in my pregnancy, so I had to
Okay.
wait for my 6-week appointment.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So they said, you're pregnant, but we'll wait until you're 6 weeks and we'll do an ultrasound.
Okay. Were you guys going stir crazy waiting for 6 weeks to hit for the ultrasound?
Yeah, because we just wanted to see the baby and she looked like a little bean.
Aw. So how did the first ultrasound go? What did you guys hear when you went to the first ultrasound?
That she had a strong heartbeat.
Nice.
That was
Okay.
well, we didn't know the gender yet, of course, but
Right.
that the
Right.
baby had a strong heartbeat.
That's awesome. Okay. So then tell us about like how your pregnancy was going. So you hear the baby's heartbeat at 6 weeks, and then what happens like throughout the rest of like your pregnancy? How are you feeling? How's the baby feeling? Anything that was surprising for you during that time?
I was really blessed to not have morning sickness.
That is a blessing. Hmm.
I did have some headaches,
Okay.
but I was expecting to have morning sickness, so I bought a
Hmm.
bunch of ginger chews and whatnot that I
Yes.
still have in my pantry. um, but I was also like feeling a little squeamish with meat for a little bit,
Okay.
and then I would be craving like a huge bowl of salad. I was like, man, how long is this gonna last?
uh,
And I really love sushi too, so I missed that the most.
yeah. So you noticed pregnancy cravings right away, but no morning sickness. That's good though.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
It
how
felt like my husband was craving things more than I was.
was he really?
Yeah. He was eating banana peppers out of the jar.
Okay. So husband had pregnancy cravings, and then what about the baby? How was the baby doing when you guys would go for the appointments?
Um, it was always the same comment, like she had a strong heartbeat.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was amazing.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Okay. So pregnancy was uneventful pretty much, except for the fact that you were squeamish around meat and didn't really have any cravings, but husband had cravings and nothing really happened throughout the pregnancy.
No, which was a huge blessing for the
That's
first child.
awesome. Yeah, that's really, really awesome. So then when you're nearing the end of your pregnancy, let's talk about that. How are you guys like preparing for the labor?
I had prepared my hospital bag maybe
Okay.
2 months before. And I was always reminding my husband, like, get your bag together, get it together. It could happen any day now. He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think he had it really prepared until like maybe 2 weeks before.
Yeah. Okay.
But I had like a list on the door as well, like
Hmm.
what the number to call, and don't forget your wallet, don't forget the speakers and whatnot. I actually brought too much things, and I almost had my husband bring his guitar to serenade me during birth. But then after going through labor, I was like, that would have been like too much to bring. So I'm glad.
Yeah. It's common to overpack for the hospital because you want to be prepared for everything and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. Did you guys take like any childbirth education classes or breastfeeding classes or hire like a doula? Did you guys even know what a doula was? Anything like that?
Hmm, there was a class on base that was being offered to the mom to bees,
Okay.
and our hospital also had childbirth and breastfeeding classes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Really awesome. Didn't know what a doula was until these classes.
Okay.
And because of everything with COVID, we didn't know what our options were. So we went to YouTube.
Okay.
And I wish I had found that sooner so I could like prepare better. But we found it like the last week before I gave birth.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the key thing we learned was just like the breathing techniques.
Okay. And so, because everything was going on with COVID, what kind of like things were you guys hearing, and what kind of adjustments did you have to make to like maybe your expectations around what you wanted and who you wanted to come to the hospital with you?
So before going into the hospital, we had some of our appointments over the phone,
Okay.
and then once we were in the hospital, I had my plan of like using the nitrous oxide, and they're like, "Oh, because of COVID, you can't have that. Do you want an epidural?" And I was like, "Oh man, this was not
Hmm.
part of my plan."
Yeah.
um, because I didn't want an epidural, so I was like,
Right.
I guess I'll just have nothing.
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
so that was like a wrench in
Yeah.
everything. But I was able to do it, which really empowered me. So it's like, oh, now I could do it again without an epidural or
Yeah.
the oxide.
Did you ask your mom about like your birth story, or did you already know like your birth story? And like, did you lean on like your mom or your aunts or other people in your family to kind of share with you as like a first time mom, like what they went through? And did you sort of run things by them to see like what they thought about your birth plan or?
Only in regards to epidural, because I
Okay.
wasn't too sure about that.
Yeah,
My family that I have spoken to, they did get an epidural.
they did. Okay.
But then when I Googled it, I saw a lot of cons on like a pro con list. I was like,
Okay.
all these cons, but the biggest pro is less pain. And I was like, I don't know. And I think the big one for me was someone I knew said they still had back pain.
Oh,
I
okay.
was like, nah.
Yeah. And how do you feel about needles in general and about like medication, like pain medication, even before you became pregnant? Would you be the type to like take an Excedrin for a headache or like just tough it out until it went away?
I usually try to tough it out.
Okay, so you're more natural sort of leaning anyway when it comes to like pain and medication. Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you asked a few people, you saw the pros and cons list, you were like, yeah, I'm kind of leaning more towards no. And so it was nitrous oxide or epidural. And you were like, okay, I guess I'll go without. What did your husband say?
He was just saying it's my call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was confident in whatever you decided. And then what else like ended up changing or being different once you arrived to the hospital due to COVID that you guys weren't expecting or maybe that you thought was going to be one way, but it turned out to be a different way?
My due date was April 9, but
Okay.
then it was seeming like I was going to go past my due date. But
Mm,
then because of COVID, the doctor was like, we should have you come in earlier. So I came in a day before my due date. So they would induce me because the following week they weren't allowing in spouses.
okay.
And I was like, I would not be able to give birth without my husband there.
Yeah.
So we went in early and then they started the drip. Um, and then my water didn't break on its own. And I was feeling contractions every 2 minutes, but they weren't painful.
Okay.
And so the doctor was like, do you want us to break your water? And then not knowing what that really meant, I was like, sure. And they're like, okay. And then now I know like what it feels like, just a warm gush of water.
Hmm.
And then that's when the pain started as well, when real
Yeah.
labor started.
Yeah, I was going to say that usually intensifies the contractions. How are you feeling about the contractions after your water was broken?
I was screaming.
Yeah.
When like the ice chips came in, and my husband, he was holding my hand through every contraction, and
Mm.
he was helping me with breathing techniques.
Okay. And you guys did hypnobirthing, you said, was the class that you guys took the week before you went into labor?
It was childbirth and breastfeeding.
Okay. So did you guys end up seeing that like the classes that you took and the techniques that you learned were helpful? And did you remember those throughout the course of your labor?
Yes, it was very helpful.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so then your husband is holding your hand, you get ice chips, your water is broken. And I know when you're in labor, it's kind of hard to determine like how long things are going on or how long things happen. But like to the best of your ability, like what happened like after that?
Well, when I was still like able to do things, I was taking notes on my phone of like how things were going along, and then my husband would. So I think I was in
Oh,
labor
okay.
for 6 hours,
Wow. Okay.
from when my water broke to giving birth.
Okay.
And it was just crazy because I was screaming at the top of my lungs,
Mhm.
drying out my throat. Um, but then they gave me like peanut ball. They
Oh,
suggested
nice.
different positions. The peanut ball
Okay.
for me just made it worse.
Oh, peanut ball didn't help. Okay.
Yeah, and I kept asking them like, how far along am I now? And then my husband told me after the fact that I hadn't dilated in that past hour, but they didn't want to tell me that to like discourage me.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you were dilating slowly and you were how long has it been? How much have I dilated? And they didn't want to give you the information because they wanted to keep you encouraged. Okay.
Yeah.
So then what happened after that? How did you end up like dilating?
Um, just like writing it out.
Okay. Okay. So did you guys like walk around or like were you in water? Like do you remember like some of the things that you guys ended up doing to kind of get your body to dilate?
Well, when we came into the hospital, I was already at 5.
Okay. That's
Um,
good.
but then I was just laying in the hospital bed for the rest of the time.
Okay. Okay, got it. So then what ended up happening after you found out you didn't like the peanut ball and there had been a little bit of time from the time that you got your water broken till now?
Well, after like I was using the peanut ball, then I started to feel like I had to push.
Okay.
Hmm.
And did you call the nurses or was your doctor already in the room?
Yeah, we had to call the nurses because there would be times where I was in the hospital room with just my husband and screaming, and he's kind of freaking out. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how to help her. No nurses here, and she wants to push." So
Okay.
we had to call for help.
Okay, awesome. So the nurses come in and I'm assuming that they check you because you say you need to push. And then what do they say?
And then they said, "Yeah, looks good to go." So then the whole crew came in, all the lights turned on, and then the doctor was coaching me on how to push.
Okay. How many times did you push before your baby was born?
That I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
how long that was. Yeah.
Okay. Did it feel to you like it took a little while from like the time you started pushing to the time she actually arrived?
Yeah. I was
Okay.
starting to get exhausted.
Okay.
But then my husband was like, "Oh my gosh, I can see her head. Keep pushing."
Oh,
And then that kind of like motivated me to finish.
that is awesome. Did you feel like they call it like the ring of fire? Like usually when the baby's like head starts to crown. So when your husband screamed that, did you feel anything different?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's like,
I always want to ask people that because I didn't either. Like the ring of fire, I don't know if it's like a myth or a legend. Like I don't think anything different happened that I remember either.
yeah. And I think we're like so in the zone on trying to get a baby out, we're not thinking about, is this the ring of fire?
Right. Fire does seem unforgettable though. It's like if there was fire, it seems like I would remember that and I don't. Okay, so your husband screams, you can see your head keep pushing, you get that motivation. And so your daughter is born. So what time and what day was she born?
She was born on a Wednesday at
Okay.
4:51 p.m.
Okay, awesome. And then what did you guys end up naming your daughter?
Our daughter's name is Stella Marie.
Wow, beautiful. And then, so what happens after your daughter is born? Like, I know they probably weigh her and do like the checks. Did she cry? Like, how were you feeling?
Mm, um, I think I was just so exhausted because once they
Yeah.
put her in my arms, she was still crying. And my husband took like a video of me as well. And I'm like trying to like soothe her already, like patting her on the back and shushing
Oh,
her. And my husband, he was crying. And I thought I would be crying too, but I went like straight into mom mode.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then, so your husband took that video. That's awesome. I'm glad he did. And then, did you end up like having a plan at that point for like feeding your baby? Like, were you wanting to breastfeed or wanting to formula feed? Like, had you guys talked about that before?
Yes. So I was planning to breastfeed, and then
Nice.
that's what I was doing as
Okay.
afterwards.
Okay, so you did have a plan to breastfeed. Awesome. And then did you guys get a chance to chat with family on video at that point because of COVID? I'm assuming that you guys couldn't have visitors at the hospital, right?
Yes, and because we're in Illinois, all of our family was on the West Coast. Um,
Oh, so your family doesn't live in Illinois. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
so we FaceTimed all of our family members.
Okay. Awesome. So then how long were you guys in the hospital and did anything happen while you were in the hospital recovering from your labor?
Well, they had to stitch me up
Okay.
after giving birth, and having like my shower after that was like, it was nice, but it was also sore.
Yeah.
Just I think we stayed in the hospital for 2 or 3 days
Okay.
to kind of help me heal, and then help with breastfeeding as well,
Okay.
and then just being able to rest and recover a little bit before going home.
Yeah, for sure. And then what happens when you guys get home?
Um, we were trying to figure out a good rhythm on how to like help with the baby, because before we were doing shifts, so I was like, I would pump out some so my husband could feed her, do the diaper at one shift, and then the other shift I'd be feeding and changing the diaper. We
Okay.
found out maybe like a month later that that didn't work,
Mm.
so he does the booty duty and I do the booby duty,
Love
and
it.
that works out a lot better.
Okay, so you guys are finding your parenting rhythm. And then what about the business, right? Because you said that you guys basically you became a certified wedding planner, but then you guys ended up starting a business together. So
Mhm.
were you on like an official maternity leave from like wedding planning, and was your husband able to be home with you? Because he's in the military, right? So I don't know if they give maternity leave or paternity
Yeah,
leave, rather, for that.
yeah. He got paternity leave,
Okay, he did. Awesome.
and then because I had just gotten certified, I didn't have any jobs yet for my event planning business.
Okay.
Uh, but before that, we're thinking, oh, 2 weeks after I give birth, we'll be good to go and start doing our business things again. And
Mm,
we spoke to some postpartum coaches, and they're like, no, you are not going to be doing that. Um,
okay.
give yourself some grace and just enjoy this time with your baby, because that's the only time you're going to have like that.
Yeah.
And
Guys,
that
listen.
was a breakthrough for us. And after we had that call with the postpartum coaches, we were crying because we felt like the weight lifted off of our shoulders, that we didn't have to
Mm,
be working right away after giving birth.
okay. Well, that's awesome. Were the postpartum coaches also provided like as part of like your healthcare with like the military? Or how did you guys find the postpartum coaches?
We found them through a coaching community that we're in.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
um,
Okay.
we had a call with them, and it was just very much needed to hear their
Yeah.
perspective and their
Did they
advice.
say anything else that really resonated with you guys and help you guys put more of a routine in place as new parents?
Just how much my husband should be taking care of me and watching out for me to make sure I'm not becoming depressed, just being there to support me, which he
Okay.
has been, and it has been huge.
Awesome. Okay. So you guys ended up talking to postpartum coaches. You had a more realistic expectation of like when to return to work. You guys felt relieved. They gave you other advice as well. Are you guys a part of like a coaching community on Facebook? Is that where you guys ended up finding the postpartum coaches?
Yes.
And what's the name of the Facebook group?
It's through the empowered couples. I'm not sure if it's coaching, but it's run
Okay.
by the Freemans.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And then how did your maternity journey start to turn after you guys had that conversation?
It was great. I got to shower.
Good.
I would always hear that moms don't get to shower or just have time to themselves. So
Yes.
my husband would take care of our daughter while I could take care of myself.
Nice.
Um, Something else that we had done before giving birth was preparing our meals um,
Right.
through like instant pot recipes. And
Awesome. Okay. And it's COVID. Did you guys feel comfortable having people come to your house to see the baby, or was it just you two? And did you continue to video chat with the rest of your family?
Yeah, it was just us two and then
Okay.
video chat.
Okay. And would you give any advice to like first time moms that you wish you would have known going into the process that you found out afterwards, or anything that you found particularly helpful?
Just being really vulnerable with how you feel and communicating what you need,
Hmm.
and not being afraid to ask for help.
Okay. Love that tip. And then, Sarah, tell people where they can find you online, and then also share like anything that you and your husband have going on with like your business, and who you guys serve with your business.
Yeah, so we serve engaged couples as they're going towards their journey to marriage. Of course, I do some wedding. I have wedding planning services, but we more focus on the relationship skills to be developed before you get married.
Okay. And do people have to live in Las Vegas, or is this something that you guys can do like worldwide virtually?
Worldwide. We're
Okay.
currently working with a couple that's long distance right now. One's in California and one's in the Philippines. So
Nice. Okay.
we can help couples wherever they're at. And everyone can find us at Journey to Marriage on Instagram, Facebook, our website, journeytomarriage.com. And we also just launched our own podcast called Journey.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Sarah, I want to thank you so much for sharing with me about you and your husband and your birth story. I'll definitely make sure to link Journey to Marriage, the website, the podcast, the Instagram. That way everybody can easily find it. And then if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to Sarah, and definitely reach out to her if you are thinking about getting married, you are engaged, and you want that extra touch, definitely reach out. Thank you again, Sarah. I really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Of course.